it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I thank who've inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well. They are Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Alona Nava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rabbi Daniel Asser, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skoback, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Asher, and Yaron Reuven. So I think I covered them all, and there will be links below this video. Also, if you've never checked out the site before, you can check out my first video, which will also be linked right underneath this one, so you can learn what M.L.M for the soul, what it stands for, what it means, and what I'm doing. So today is the continuation, and I'm trying to remember what part I'm up to. I think it's part 5, if I'm correct. So I did 3, yeah. This is part 5 of Shmiras Haloshon, guarding your speech. And I have this other booklet from the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, and I will link again where you can obtain this free brochure and find out all about all the things that they offer. They offer some wonderful things. In this booklet, it shows you different things. They offer books, tapes, they have a hotline, they have endless stuff. So I will link some phone numbers for you where you can contact. So we were on the side here of what happens if you say Loshon Hara. So we're going to continue. There's 2 more days we're going to do that, and then we're going to flip to the other side. So today I am up to the part that says prayers without power. Because his prayers are not accepted above, the moment he does teshuvah, all his mitzvos come flooding back. So today what I'm going to do is, I think I might skip the Hebrew part. Last time I did read it, so I'll just tell you where it comes from. So, has it ever happened that you pray day after day about a certain matter and yet are not answered? Yet it is common knowledge that no prayer goes to waste. Every prayer is beneficial in some way. If not for the requested prayer, then for some requested matter, then for something else. But bear this in mind: a person's corrupt actions may prevent his prayer from ascending to heaven. Altogether, the Chofetz Chaim quotes the following Zohar, Parshas Metzora, volume 353a, translated to Hebrew, that makes this point. I'll just read this because it's short in Hebrew. Misheyesh bo Loshon Hara ein tfilato nechneset lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheharei nitorer aleha ruach tmea kevan shechozer b'tshuva mekabel of tshuva ma katuv in Vayikra b'yom taharato v'huva el kohen. So the prayer of one guilty of Loshon Hara do not appear before the Holy One. This is because of the tumah that hovers over them. But the Torah writes that as soon as one repents and resolves to change, then on the very day he purifies himself, he shall be brought to the Kohen. This is from Vayikra. And then the Chofetz Chaim continues from Shmiras Haloshon, and I'm just going to read this in English. The above lends clarity to the Torah's instruction that a Mitzora, which is one who is afflicted with tzaras for speaking Loshon Hara, calls out to those passing by, I am contaminated, and this is said in actually Vayikra, Parshas Vayikra. The Gemara, Moed Katan, explains that he expresses his distress publicly so that the public will pray for mercy on his behalf. It is specifically the Mitzora who must resort to this humiliating tactic because his prayers are not accepted above on account of the Loshon Hara he has spoken. Since his own prayers are unwelcome above, the Torah advises that he asks others to pray for him. So because his prayers aren't accepted, because think about it, it's just like, if you go and light Shabbos candles but you're not dressed modestly, or you're davening and you're not dressed properly, is that going to be acceptable? Like, you're standing before the King. We're always standing before the King of all kings. So isn't it appropriate, especially when you're praying to him and you're asking him for stuff, that you dress in a manner that you would dress if you went in front of a human king? I mean, you don't think about that, but that's important. Okay, so continuing on, a reassuring counterpoint, Rabbeinu Yonah addresses the case of one whose mitzvahs are disqualified because of the sins he committed. Rabbeinu Yonah writes that while it is true those mitzvahs are not accepted, they are irretrievable. Rather, they stand by waiting for a person to act. The moment he does tshuva, all of his mitzvahs come flooding back to defend him before the throne of glory. The same dynamic applies to Torah and tefillah that has been contaminated with Loshon Hara, as Zohar mentioned above. So I would say probably the same thing. If you're not dressed appropriately, if you change your ways, then all those tefillos will be, like, they're set aside. They're kind of held in abeyance, like in waiting, Continuing on with this, then it says, he loses the merit of any sacred words that he might speak later on. So, again, the Chofetz Chaim writes, and I'm just going to read the English. This also you must know. Besides the prohibition a person is guilty of when he speaks things forbidden by the Torah, he suffers another even more devastating loss. He loses the merit of any sacred words that he might speak later on. For there are spiritual forces whose purpose is to preserve the tumah attached to one's forbidden speech, and use it to pollute one's word of holiness spoken later. That's pretty amazing. So it carries on further. And then further on, to quote the Zohar HaKadosh from Parshas Pekudei, again, I'm just going to continue in English. There are many agents of retribution who are subordinate to the evil spirit of the Sitra Achra. They are assigned to seize the evil or vulgar words spoken by people. When those individuals then speak sacred words, woe to them, woe to their lives. Woe to them in this world, and woe to them in the world to come. For those impure spirits, after taking the Tameh words of Loshon Hara, then pounce upon the sacred words he utters and contaminate those sacred words. Those words no longer stand to his credit, and it is as if the forces of holiness in general grow weaker. This is from Sefer Chofetz Chaim. So, it says here about Mishayesh b'Loshon Hara ein tfilato nechnes l'fnei Kadosh Baruch Hu. Prayers of one guilty of Loshon Hara do not appear. So there you go. So because you spoke the Loshon Hara, therefore those from the impure side take that impurity and then they use that on the stuff that you use later on that could be sacred. So one more. This is called a witness against yourself. As a person acts, so does heaven act towards him. B'mida sh'adam modeh ba modedim lo. And I'm just going to read the English again, skip the Hebrew. The way in which one acts towards others determines the way in which heaven will act towards him. For example, if one strives to overlook the hurt caused him, and if he acts towards others with kindness and compassion, then he awakens the attribute of compassion in heaven. Hashem will judge him with mercy, and he will be shown kindness from above. As our sages state, whoever has compassion towards others will be shown compassion from above. This is from Shabbos 151b. And whoever refrains from exacting his measure of retribution from others for the wrong they cause him will have all his sins forgiven. From Rosh Hashanah 17a. Moreover, in his merit, divine compassion will manifest itself upon the world. See, so if you overlook something, in Meshamayim they'll do the same for you. Like if you have something pending, I'll say, you see, he had compassion, so we'll do the same. And then the next one from Shmiras Haloshon. Again, I'm just going to read the English. However, if it is one's way to be absolutely unrelenting towards others and to treat them without compassion, then he strengthens the attribute of justice towards himself specifically, and to the entire nation as well. Heaven will be unrelenting regarding that person's sin. For, quote, with the measure that a person uses to measure for others, do they, heaven, measure for him. This is from Sota 8b. As a person acts, so does heaven act towards him. So it says here, "Im medaber Loshon Hara al chavero umeorer medanim alav hu meorer bazel malav v'notein bazel koach l'satan she'katreg al Yisrael," which we don't want. What does that mean? When a Jew speaks Loshon Hara against his fellow Jew, he thereby brings about accusation in heaven towards the Jewish people. So it's used against you. Continuing on, he empowers the accuser to indict the Jewish people. Notein bazel koach l'satan, which I just read down below. So I'm just going to read the English here again. This is also from Shmiras Haloshon Sefer Chofetz Chaim. When a Jew speaks Loshon Hara against his fellow Jew and brings about complaints against him, he thereby brings about accusation in heaven against the Jewish people, and he empowers the accuser to indict the Jewish people. In the words of the Zohar, to Parshas Pekudei 264b, this sin, quote, brings plague, sword, and murder to the world. Woe to those who awaken this evil force, who do not guard their tongues and pay no heed to this. They do not realize that the ways of heaven reflect the ways of this world, both for good and for bad. Through evil talk, the great serpent, the Satan, is aroused to voice accusations against the world. Again, from Shmiras Haloshon Sefer Chofetz Chaim. And then one who silences himself silences the accuser as well. Moshe Adam kovesh tatzmo uvolem piv came lamala ena makatri l'chel of talk piv. So if you close your mouth, so to speak, so does he. He doesn't have a mouthpiece to use. So Mida connected Mida, measure for measure, is the rule of heaven in all instances. When a person restrains himself from speaking disparagingly of his fellow, then in heaven the accuser is unable to open his mouth to accuse. This is not the case if talebearing is present among the Jewish people on earth. Besides the wrath that is provoked against the talebearer himself, wrath is also provoked against Klal Yisrael. Because what's the expression? Klal Yisrael Revim Zelazeh. We're all responsible for each other, so it affects everyone. The accuser approaches the heavenly tribunal to indict them on account of their sins and demands justice. Kadosh Baruch Hu is compelled, as it were, to punish them. And who is the cause of all this? The speaker of Lashon Hara on earth. Again, from Shmiras Haloshon Sefer Chofetz Chaim. So there you go. So important for us to be aware of that we don't just affect ourselves by what we do. We affect everything, and we affect what goes on above. So I hope and pray that this is something we'll really influence us to change and to basically keep your mouth closed. if you don't have anything nice to say, what do they say? Don't say anything, and don't say anything at all. So I hope and pray in the merit of us doing the right thing for Hashem, that we will live and see, merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days, and the rebuilding of the final everlasting Beis Hamikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.